So, if you're a man and you're facing a divorce and thinking that you might be facing alimony or more properly spousal maintenance, spousal support demands, how can you deal with that? How can you protect yourself? There's a few basic things you can do. First off, it's going to depend on what your spouse can do for themselves from the property division and the assets they receive in the divorce. It depends what your spouse can do for themselves as far as providing for themselves, their level of education, their level of employment opportunities, and it's going to depend on their actual living expenses and what it takes for them to live. These are all factors the court's going to take into consideration if it comes to making these calculations. And so you've got to be thinking about these things yourself. And how is my spouse positioned? If you've got time on the horizon before you get to your divorce, maybe you can head some of that off and help fix some of that and make it easier for your spouse to provide for themselves. Maybe you can adjust your assets in such a way that they're going to receive good assets or significant assets enough in the divorce that they can provide for themselves. There's a number of ways you can tackle that. If you're trying to head that off, it's best if you'll go sit down with an attorney experienced in helping men through spousal support demands. So guys, why should she walk away with half of everything that you worked for? Well, I'm sorry to say that in Texas, it's all community property unless something's carved out as separate property. And money you've made during the marriage is community property. And the court's going to divide everything that's come in from that 50-50 more than likely. And that kind of stems from some old agricultural beliefs in Texas, where if you had a plot of land and you went and raised a crop, it wasn't just you that raised your crop. Your spouse helped you do that. You know, your spouse fed you and brought you water or whatever, some ancient agricultural beliefs. But it kind of helped us understand in this modern age when we don't really need that kind of dual spouse support to raise a crop. Really, you just went to work and slaved your butt off and made money. And now, unfortunately, you're probably going to have to divide a significant part of that. That's just the fact of life in Texas, guys. So I want to address every guy out there who's worried about losing his retirement account in a divorce. Whether you've been served with papers already or whether this is something you're going to initiate in the future, a lot of guys are just worried. They just think, hey, I've worked real hard. The only thing I've got to show for it is this retirement plan, and it's just going to disappear and it's all going to go away. That's not really the way it works in most divorces. A lot of times there's other assets in the marriage, in the community to be awarded to your spouse. So a lot of times your retirement plan stays intact and doesn't get touched. A lot of times your worst case scenario becomes dividing it in two. But guess what? If that's divided in two, you're probably going to get some other assets as well. How that falls out on a divorce is rarely a world's worst case scenario for most guys. Hey, I'm talking to you, Mr. Small Business Owner, and this is coming from me, Robert Von Dolan, attorney at law and small business owner. I know what it's like when you're going through a hard time, when you're going through a divorce and you're having to face dividing your business. So how do we deal with that? What are we going to do about it? Well, you need to sit back and think, is this business I got worth fighting for, worth spending money for, worth chasing that dream and continuing to chase it? Or is this something that I'm willing to divide? Maybe I need to liquidate it and start all over again. These are hard questions that we have to answer as business owners and as men going through a divorce. And it really helps if we've got someone to talk to who's been through this before. I've been through it. My team is familiar with dealing with it, and we can help you answer these questions.